Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Loudguns, and today we're going to continue with day 6 of IAE. So if the life of luxury is for you, today's your day because it's Origin Jumpworks. Just before we hit the expo hall though, a big thank you as per usual for this week to Does It and Bake Panda, who were my cameramen today. So thank you very much guys for getting the footage of the expo hall for me. And if you're a new player, sort of just looking to try out Star Citizen, make sure you get in this week because there's a free fly, so you can sort of just test if it runs well and if it's a game that you can see yourself playing before you actually sink any money into it. Just before you do that though, make sure when you create your account you use somebody's referral code. And if you're looking for one of those, just check the video description down below because there's a whole bunch from the people in the community. And also, if you're looking for a community of like-minded people to come and join and just have a bit of fun in the game, then feel free to just follow the link to our Discord that's also down there. So without further ado, let's hit the show floor. And I think I might have made a comment the other day about how I didn't quite see how a Hercules star lifter could make it into the expo hall, but I certainly can't see how an 890 jump managed to make it in there. I did receive a comment that pointed out that the roof looks like it could fold back like football stadium roofs do. But to be fair, if someone flew it in through that gap, then they're certainly a better pilot than I am. So while a lot of the 890 jump's intended gameplay isn't actually in yet, there are an awful lot of features that you can put to good use. So you've got a full-size hangar that you can actually cram an awful lot of ships into, and that'll let you sort of play with a little bit of pocket carrier gameplay. If you want to carry some mates in some fighter ships and take them around for some bounty missions. And you've also got a really decent sized vehicle bay as well for cramming vehicles into and taking them out for a bit of an explorer of some of the moons and planets. But one thing that I will say is that the 890 jump is probably one of the best ambassadors that we have for the game. You know, particularly with free flies, it's easy to just get some of your mates to come and take a look around, even if they sort of haven't really got Star Citizen on their radar. And I will say that sort of just a tour around an 890 jump will probably say more than you ever could. So I'd strongly encourage you to just take one of these out and then get your mates to have a good old walk around it. The 890 is both literally and figuratively overshadowing one of its smaller brethren though. And the 600i off to the left hand side of that is also a ship which I would recommend you take for it a spin. This is a bit of an underrated ship I think, and actually it's got really decent gun power with 3 size 5 weapons under pilot control, so this can shred through quite a few of the bounty missions. I was listening to the Info Runners coverage of today at IAE on the way home from work this evening, and Astropub and Algrid were talking about how the 600i actually has a mooted cargo variant, which I personally would be really interested to see because I do actually really like just how the ship handles and the general size of it, you know, big without being too big. Fully overshadowed though is the 100i, which is effectively one of Origin's starter ship variants. And I feel that this has been placed right next to the 890 jump just to give you a sense of scale in this game. So this is a ship which sort of, even though it appears tiny right next to the 890, this will very comfortably house one person, has a nice little bed. A bit of a luxury tax on it in terms of sort of its value for sale sort of in dollars and also for a UEC in game. I think it doesn't really do anything that an Aurora, for example, doesn't do, but it is sleek and very good looking. One of the newer ships from Origin, released just after CitizenCon, is the 400i. So this is basically to sit between sort of things like the 300 series and the 600 series, and it's basically pitched as a luxury exploration vehicle. The pitch also sort of said that it was a Connie sort of competitor, but really it doesn't have as much versatility as the Constellation series. However, it's a nice daily driver maybe, so take one out for a spin. You know, they're all free to rent. I've also got all of the 300 series in this room, so we've got the 350R racing variant and the 325A Interceptor in this particular stand. The 325A's got a bit of a soft spot in my heart. It was my very first pledge for Star Citizen back in 2014, so even though it's melted and been consigned to history, I do still love it. And we've got the 85X. This is a bit of an odd ship. It's basically meant as a snub craft for the 890 jump, and it's very much got that tourism feel. So not too much to recommend it in terms of firepower, etc. But one thing which I can say for it is that the cockpit offers one of the most sort of unimpeded views of the world of Star Citizen. So feel free to grab one of these, stick it in your 890 jump, and then use it to sort of cruise down to some of the moons and just go and see the scenery. In the hollow viewer room where CIG show off some of their concept ships, we've got the G12 ground cars. So this one is the military variant with some missiles on board, but we've also got a touring version and a racing version. So this looks very much like the Cyclone competitor from Origin, with the distinction that it's got a sealed-in cab, so maybe a bit more protection. And finally, my ship of the day today is the Origin M50 Racer. And one of the things I love about Star Citizen is that each of the manufacturers really has their own sort of feel and flavour to them, and that's really been brought out by the designers at CIG. So what that does lead to, though, is obviously each of us is going to have our favourite manufacturer, and we're probably therefore going to have those that aren't our particular favourite. And for me, Origin is sort of one of the ones I care about a bit less, just personally. No offence if you love Origin at all, just each to their own. But what I do find is that there's usually one ship, even from a manufacturer that you don't particularly like, which really makes you stop and go, maybe I judged that manufacturer too harshly. So for me, that's very definitely the M50. I flew this around an awful lot in 314, and will probably continue to do so as soon as I buy one again in 315. So just in the interests of encouraging people to go out and try something that they might not try otherwise, I highly recommend today that you take out an M50 and go and take it low flying and try and look for some of the great advice there is on Reddit about the various sort of informal racetracks of Star Citizen, and see if you can lay down a decent time around one of those circuits. So I hope you found this useful, particularly if you didn't manage to make it out to New Babbage for the expo this year. I believe we've got 3 more days of manufacturers, so a whole number of them tomorrow, but including one of my favourites, Argo. Then we've got Drake on Friday, and we finish up with Misk on Saturday. The expo then tends to run for a few more days, but it'll be the best in show, so just showing off those ships which won the competition this year. Worth saying though that at that point, all of the ships will be available to rent, so don't worry too much if you feel you've missed something. Just come back on the last few days of the show and you'll be able to rent anything you like. So if you would like to keep up with that sort of content, then consider hitting subscribe to the channel. And I'd also like to say a big thank you again to my Patreon supporters for their support, and hopefully by the time another one of these big events comes up, I won't need to pressure anybody into being my camera people. So with all that said, thanks very much for watching all the way to the end, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.